Welcome back to Frustrated User Guide. So this is a tale of 3 mini heaters. What we're looking at is the very first one I ever bought. I got it from AliExpress. Got this in December of 2021, and with shipping it cost me just under $20. It is now January of 2026, so I've actually had this for 4 winters. When I went to turn it on this year, here's what happens. Not supposed to make that noise. Doesn't sound good. Let's take it apart, see if we can fix it. You know, I had this apart 3 years ago when I first got it. I never noticed the fan details. Well, we've only got 6 Phillips head screws, so should come right out. It's my old Craftsman number 2 Phillips. I know it's incredible, but it's not as good as the Harbor Freight screwdrivers that they're selling today. I don't know if it's the handle, I don't know if it's the tip. Pretty amazing though. Okay, here we go. This one's still stuck. Quite a bit longer screw. Okay, wires coming this way. Alright, first thing we see, even though this is a 2-speed fan, there's only 2 wires on it, positive and negative. The next thing, DC 12 volts, 3/10 of an amp, brushless DC fan. So it's 12 volts, not 110 volt. And it is a brushless fan, but yet it seems to be spinning well here, but it sure makes a racket. All right, let's see what we can do. You can see how little this has been used from the fact that there's hardly any dust on this. A little bit of dust, not much. So what we're going to do, I'm going to hook this up to a 12 volt supply, see if we can duplicate that racket. Now, I've taken the fan out, disconnected it, and using some common pins and some alligator clips, what I did was these pins, one is going into the front of the connector, one's going into the back side of the connector, and that's so that they are less likely to touch and short out. And then when I want to test it, I just touch this to positive, and you can see she's spinning fine. It's nice and quiet. I can't explain either the bearing on that motor shaft shifted. Maybe it'll only do this if I stand it straight up. Now, regarding size. Now, we have our digital caliper. Turn it on. So this is actually a 60 millimeter by 60 millimeter, and then the depth .25 millimeter. So that's a pretty standard size fan, 60 by 60 by 25 millimeter. So these are readily available. The thing is, replacement fan costs almost as much as the whole heater. So I really don't know what I'm going to do here. I might just put it back together and see how it does. It comes apart easy enough. I am a fan of these heaters, despite all the improvements that I think could easily be made to it. They're very useful. But, well, let's put it back together, see how it does. Well, it's screwed down. I tighten the ceramic element screws as well. It's spinning freely in this position. Well, time will tell. Well, I wanted a second heater anyway, so at that point, I ordered 2 of these upgraded wall space heaters from Amazon. It's advertised as being a small, safe heater, overheat protection, should have some of the improvements that I had wanted. And if you look at the very top of this slide, you'll see that I returned both heaters on December 3rd, 2025. Now, why was that? Because when I plugged them in, they didn't throw any heat to speak of. And within a few minutes, it began to stink. The stench was incredible. The stench of electronics burning up. You just have no idea how bad these 2 heaters were. Both of them. Neither one was any good. Now, if you think I'm the only one complaining about these heaters, note the brand name here. It's LYNBKLS. Check the 1-star reviews on Amazon from people who bought these heaters in December of 2025 through January of 2026. Lots of complaints of this exact heater. One guy says it actually caught fire. Another person says it melted the plastic. Many people complaining it didn't throw any heat to speak of. Back they went. So this is Miracle Mini Heater number 3. I got it from Temu in 2026. Only $12.72. Unbelievable. I bought it to replace the 2 I had as seen on TV versions that I bought from Amazon. Those 2 burned up immediately. Didn't even get 1 hour out of either one of them. And I've had this one all winter. It's actually now March of 2026. I have it here in this little breezeway. This room runs between the house. This is the house door. And that's the garage door. This breezeway measures 4 feet wide and 9 feet long, so we're 36 square feet. Now, why do I have it in here? Well, the breezeway's unheated. The house has its own separate heating system, and so does the garage. And right down here, we have hot and cold water pipes that run between the house and the garage. We don't want these pipes to freeze. Now this is a very cold room. We have a window in the driveway door. We have another window looking out here over the backyard. And we have a window here on the patio door. So we have 3 windows, 3 exterior walls, and no heat. So when the temperature falls in the single digits and be at 0 or below 0, this room is below freezing. So we need a source of heat here to keep these hot and cold water pipes from freezing. Now, could we leave this door open to the garage? Yes, we could. But that would give us a security problem because obviously this breezeway is very easily broken into, especially in the winter when there's, you're in your bed, you're not hearing anything out here. Could we leave that house door open? Yes, to heat this little room. But this room is so cold. And all I want to do is heat this room above freezing. I don't necessarily want this room to be in the 70s. In the 50s is perfectly fine. So this little heater should do the job. Perfect use for a little heater like that. And we've had it now for 3 months. Heats perfectly. Has no difficulty keeping this room above freezing. Actually keep this room in the 50s. Even in the coldest weather, when we're flirting with 0 degrees Fahrenheit, the wind is howling, and the wind chill factors are 20 and 30 below, little heater just works great. But having said that, even though it's quiet, even though it heats perfectly, here's what I don't like about it. Now I'm standing up, you can see me here in the mirror. I'm going to put this camera down on the ground at heater level. Okay, so now the camera, this outlet is, bottom of the outlet's US outlet 12 inches, top is 14 inches. So this camera is probably 16 inches off the ground. I'm going to turn my heater on. I don't know if you can see this in the camera or not, but the default temperature is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Every time you turn this heater on, it goes to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't want to heat this room to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not some botanical garden. I don't have tropical plants in here. All I want to do is keep those pipes from freezing. I think that would be probably the most common use for a little heater like this. Is in a vulnerable spot, you might want to keep some pipes from freezing. So every time I turn this on, what I have to do is push the negative button, because you can't see where the temperature is, but I know it's in the high 80s. You've got to push this temperature button about 30 times to drop this temperature into the 50s, because I want it more or less around 55, 50. If I hit it 30 times, it'll drop to 56, but the actual lowest temperature on this might be 59. I don't know. All I know is I have to sit here every day, and I have to count to 30 and push this to... This is just nuts, but watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And now I should be somewhere in the 50s. Why should you have to do this day after day after day after day? Why can't it remember where you put it? So long as it stays plugged into an AC outlet, how can this thing not remember where you set the temperature? But it doesn't. And who in their right mind wants this to default to close to 90 degrees Fahrenheit? I don't know anybody that keeps their house or garage at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The houses around 70 degrees. The garage is at 55. All I want to do is keep this above freezing. I don't want 90 degrees in here. This is nuts. And I don't want to have to get down on my hands and knees, which is what you have to do. Bear in mind now, here, take a look where the camera is. All you have to do, it's just crazy. Otherwise, nice and quiet, heat's great, it's given us no trouble all winter, but you can't see this display. Why could that display not have been mounted, say, at a 45-degree angle so that somebody standing up could see it? Or how about if you put it on the top here? This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Now the camera may be seeing it because, again, the camera's roughly 2 feet off the ground. See? I'm on my hands and knees. Nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So, I'm not happy with this one at all for that reason. Let's go try to fix the first one. I've tried twice to replace it. The Amazon ones were no good at all. This is a good heater, it's just so frustrating to use. So now I've got a fan. Got it from Temu. It's exactly the right thing, and it was only $4.07. Let's go try to fix that first heater. Alright, I've got my heater apart again. Here's the new fan. 12 volt, 0.3 amp, that's exactly what we need. DC brushless, exactly the right size. The first thing I noticed that's different, I've already got the pins in this ready to test. The wire on this one is longer than the wire on the original. I think I found a way to test the original. Do you hear that? So I think when this is under high speed in the machine, that's what you're hearing. Well, the next difference that I see, obviously this wire is a lot longer. Can we tie it up in there? I hope so. Now here's something that we need to check. Are they wired exactly the same? So let's orient these connectors exactly the same. We got red on the left, black on the right. So color code is correct, because if the positive and negative were reversed on the replacement heater, then the fan would rotate backwards. We wouldn't get any heat out of it. And now that I'm checking this, I'm wondering if that's what was wrong with the Amazon heaters that I returned. Because I'm not the only one who's complained about that. Almost no heat came out of it, burned up almost immediately. I wonder if the heaters were wired backwards, and instead of blowing out, it was blowing the heat back into the heater, and it self-destructed. I don't know. It would explain it. But anyways, we're going to test these, make sure that the replacement actually works and spins in the right direction. Because even though they got the color code right, you know who we're dealing with. It doesn't mean that it's wired correctly. So let's test it. Now, we can see the test setup a little better this time. A little motorcycle battery here. Some alligator clips. We got our common pins. We'll stick one in the front of the connector, one in the back. We don't want them touching. Then we just hook up the red, blowing up a storm, not making any noise. All right, let's compare it to the old one. Ideally, we don't want it to be any louder than the old one. Seem about the same. This one might be a hair louder. Isn't it odd though that the old one, bench testing here, it's not making any noise. It sure doesn't work in the heater. Well, I hope we don't have that problem with the new one. Let's put it in and find out. Now we want to put this in exactly the same as the original. So this, as I recall, this went underneath these two wires. Did not have the wire caught here like this. See, in the original that has to be loose, not caught up here. We go under these two. Should be plenty of room here to coil this. And it plugged in here. All right, that should be good. Now, if I remember right, these long screws were diagonal. Seems good. Plastic screws and plastic screw holes. Be very careful not to over tighten these. Okay, let's go test it. Moment of truth number 2. Who thinks it's going to work? I sure hope it does. Now those 2 lines means on the display means that it's powered up but not turned on. So I'll press the on button on my remote. There it goes. Now just like the mini heater in the breezeway, it turns on to the maximum high temperature, which is 30 degrees Celsius. That's way too hot. So I'll refer to my chart here, which says that Celsius 20 is 68 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to have to drop that to 20 degrees. Now the difference between this heater and the one in the breezeway that I got from Temu, this will heat the room to 68 degrees or 20 degrees Celsius, and then it will shut off. So it'll go into standby just like any other furnace. When the room cools, it'll turn back on again and raise the temperature, and it will actually maintain 68 degrees in this room. That's the big difference. This cycles on and off just like any other furnace. So I can leave it there, and this room will not overheat. Now on the other hand, you take the one that's in the breezeway, it also heats very well, but it runs 24/7. It never shuts off. So it will heat the room to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's exactly what happened when I had it in the bathroom one day. And that's what will happen in the breezeway unless I turn it off every morning. It fails to shut itself down. The thermostatic control does not work. This thermostat control does work. Let's check the low speed. Hit the speed button here. Double L means we're on low speed. Oh, I'm so happy to have my old heater back again. This is so much better than that Temu heater. So, problem solved. Now, what I'm going to do now is attach a 4-year-old unpublished video that I made back during the winter of 2021 to 2022, because as nice as this mini heater is, it's falsely advertised and there's a lot that could be improved. So in this 4-year-old unpublished video, you're going to see all the things that I initially found wrong with this heater. Even though this is the best of the three by far, there's a lot of room for improvement here. So I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope if you're a Chinese manufacturer, you'll pay attention to the things I have to say in this 4-year-old video. Thinking of getting one of these miracle mini heaters? Well, I've been using one all winter. It's March of 2022. We got this back in December. So let me tell you what the real story is. Okay, now first we should see what the temperature of the room is. I have a little thermometer here on the windowsill, and we see that it's 58 degrees Fahrenheit on the windowsill, right above the little mini heater. Okay, 58. Now what is it here in the corridor, in the middle of the house where the thermostat is? Well, right here in the central corridor, it's 10:28 in the morning. We're at 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's quite comfortable here in the center of the house. All right, what about the bathroom? We're at 69 degrees here in the bathroom. All right, let's try this wall. We're at 67 degrees here in this room. But holy cow, we're only at 58 degrees here in the bedroom. Why is that? Well, this is a north room, and heat goes to cold. The sun does not shine on the outside walls here. They're very cold. This is probably the second coldest room in the house. Now, in order to heat this room to a comfortable temperature at night, we have to overheat the rest of the house. So, yeah, will that heating grate heat this room? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Get this room toasty. But the rest of the house is going to be 80, because 72 to 58, we have a 14-degree difference between this wall right here, and the thermostat, which is centrally located. So, will this little mini heater take the edge off this room and keep it at a comfortable temperature overnight? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Even though this heater is no more than a glorified hairdryer, really, that's all it is, glorified hairdryer, it actually works. It can make this room comfortable at night. It cycles on and off. And if you're living in a room about this size, this room measures 14 by 12, counting the closets, so that would be 168 square feet. We can heat this room to a comfortable temperature overnight, keep it around 68 degrees without having to overheat the rest of the house. And hopefully, because we're just running this device, not running our gas furnace and using natural gas as well as electricity, hopefully we're doing this for less cost than it might otherwise have cost. So hopefully there's a cost savings. So okay, now that we've established why you might want to buy this heater, let's look at the advertising claims and see if it actually meets those expectations. Okay, claim number 1. This powerful device heats the entire room, washroom, garage, etc. up to 500 square feet within 60 seconds, end quote. Let's see if that's true. Now we've already established this room is 168 square feet. Well, 500 square feet, that's 2.5 times 168 square feet, so should have no problem heating this entire room in 60 seconds. All right, let's verify what our starting temperature is. 50, hope you can see that, 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's my remote. I'm going to turn it on. Well, I guess we'll count to 60. 1 America, 2 America, 3 America. $57 America, $58 America, $59 America, $60 America. Well, our entire room should be heated because it's been a minute. Let's take a look. There's no difference. It can't heat an entire room in 60 seconds. That is complete and total nonsense. There's a great book on crap like this called Proofiness. Highly recommended. Note that in this advertising claim, heats the entire room from what temperature to what temperature in 60 seconds. They don't tell you what the starting temperature is or what the end temperature is. In our case, it's still running. We have no difference whatsoever. It is a bogus claim. Now, here's another from another website. This unit can quickly heat an entire 350 square foot room in less than 10 minutes. Once again, proofiness. They don't tell you heat from what temperature to what temperature. And it's not going to do it in 10 minutes. Let me tell you, it won't do it. You have to leave this thing plugged in. You have to set it to the temperature you want. It could take hours for it to get up to that temperature. And that time is going to vary depending upon how cold it is out. Now, the average wintertime temperature for my location is 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Why would that vary? Well, because we're a coastal community. It's warmer close to the water and colder the further you get away from the water. So if you're at the extreme outer edge of this county, miles away from the water, your average wintertime temperature is probably going to be closer to 25 degrees. If you're close to the water, it's probably going to be closer to 30 degrees. Now let's see what the temperature is outside right at this moment. Well, it's got 33 degrees and it's 10:30 mid-morning. And we're at 33 degrees. Look here, the sun's shining on this windowsill. This windowsill is facing east. We're at 76 degrees on this windowsill. Boy, that's 20 degrees. That's 18 degrees difference from that bedroom windowsill. Why? So this kitchen is so much warmer than that bedroom. Oh, it's facing east. It's getting sun. Bedroom's facing north. It's not getting any sun. Yeah, my assistant wants to go down. Let's see, it's been a few minutes. Have we? Nope, we're still at 58 degrees. Not going anywhere with that. Okay, so here's advertising claim number 2. Quote, also filters your surrounding air with a built-in antimicrobial air filter, making it healthier and easier to breathe. Or, from another website, has an antimicrobial filter to trap dust and prevent mold from growing. It also helps in removing bad smells, keeping your home nice and fresh at all time. Here's a third one. Air quality control. The built-in antimicrobial filter will catch dust and prevent mold from growing. Great for people with allergies and pets. Is that true? Let's take a look. Okay, there's the ceramic element. Here's the intake filter. One right here on the side. Here's one on the back. There's a little fan in there, boxer fan. Like the fan you might have in a small computer. This is wide open. Now normally on any heater there would be filter material blocking these air inputs, because any air that you get is drawn into the back side of this fan and then pushed out through the front side of this fan, pushed out right through this rectangle. It doesn't come through here, that's just plastic. That's insulating material. Well, where's the filter? Can you see the fan in there? There's no filter. There's no filter material here, none here, none here. And if there were a filter, how would you clean it from time to time or replace it from time to time? There's no filter. Now, here's some AC filter material. You can use this to create a filter for a fireplace insert or any other heater, electric heater that comes without a filter on the air input. You've seen what this looks like. You cut it to size. So I suppose you could cut a piece to size, and what would you do? Would you tape it here around the back? I suppose you could. Hold it on here with elastic bands? I mean, there's no filter here. Okay, bogus claim number 3. Oscillating fan. Now, not all websites claim that it has an oscillating fan, but quite a few do. Let's just take a look at that little boxer fan again. You can see there's a screw, one screw right here, second screw holding it down right here, so it's held by screws in diagonal corners. Oscillating. Oscillating would mean that the thing goes back and forth like this. Bzzz. You know, you got fans in the summertime that oscillate and they go back and forth. This doesn't oscillate. It's fixed in straight ahead position. There's no oscillation. It's a completely bogus claim. Okay, bogus claim number 4. Totally silent. There's a fan here. Have you ever heard of a totally silent fan? Let's just measure this. All right, I'm gonna plug it back in. I'm gonna get my phone. Okay, so this is dB Sound Meter Pro. You can see it's registering my voice and it changes. And this scale here tells you how loud your environment is. So I'm going to shut up and we'll just see what the room is at. So we're just under whisper. So 26 dB, and you can see that 30 dB is whisper level. So that's pretty quiet. Try again. Now, how accurate is this? Well, it's pretty accurate. I've actually calibrated it to a much more expensive sound level meter. bearing in mind that the mic on my phone is right here, and the mic on this one is pointing forward. So we have one mic pointing forward, one mic pointing backward. When you point them both in exactly the same direction, these are calibrated pretty much the same. So okay, I've calibrated it to this. This is not inaccurate. Let's turn the heater on. This would be high. (36, 37 dB). Let's turn the, oh, heater just went off. So that's a 10 to 12 dB difference. It's not totally silent. Another bogus claim. Now, how offensive is that noise? It's not offensive at all. It's a very low pitch, gentle breeze sound. I don't object to it at all. It's more like a quiet library or a whisper. I guess the room would be whisper quiet, and when the heater is going, it's like a quiet library. You can see that right here. So it's not the least bit objectionable. I would say that it's quiet, but at the same time, it's not totally silent. Okay, another bogus claim. Often, these are shown, turn it back on again. Let's zoom in on it. Notice right now that the display says 30. Well, that would be 30 degrees centigrade. Here in the US of A, we don't use centigrade. We use Fahrenheit. So there is an old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Well, the USA Romans use Fahrenheit. And some of the ads actually show heaters with a Fahrenheit display. You would think that reason, logic, common sense, since the world is a big place, there'd be a switch somewhere on this heater so you could switch it back and forth from centigrade to Fahrenheit. Not this one. This one displays degrees Celsius only. It does not display degrees Fahrenheit. Now, even this little tiny Accurite that I have up here on the windowsill, even this little thermometer, if you unscrew it or snap it apart, I guess you just snap this one apart, there's a little switch inside here. That you can flick for degrees centigrade or degrees Fahrenheit. These were very inexpensive. I like them a lot. Got these from Walmart. We probably bought at least a half a dozen, maybe more of these. Have them in every room. Got a little magnet on the back so you can stick it. I really recommend these. Also at the bottom here, it has a min and max for the room. So the last 24 hours or so, the min in this room was 57. The max was 67. So yeah, great little purchase. And if you live in a part of the world that uses degrees centigrade, you flick the switch and this will read out degrees centigrade. Why doesn't that Miracle Mini Heater have a similar switch? It's only going to read degrees centigrade. And I claim yet another false advertising point. Now let's see how this display changes. See, I can change it, but it's always degrees centigrade. Now, in case you get stuck with one of these, here's what I recommend. On my remote, I can't really get it in focus, but on my remote, I put a little sticker, because being a stupid American, I can't remember. Now, 20 degrees centigrade is exactly 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And 19 would be 66.2 degrees. And 21 would be 68 plus 1.8, so it's really 69.8 degrees. So Relatively, 19 would be 66 more or less, 21 is 70 degrees more or less, 20 is 68 more or less. So most of the time, I'll leave this at 20 degrees. 68 degrees is very comfortable for this room. And in fact, must have had a little less because you can see the max in the last 24 hours was 67. Now notice it here right in front of the heater, and it's been in my hand. Look how the temperature has gone up. I can feel the heat blowing out of the heater right here, but that's not filling the entire room. Okay, the next confusing advertising claim. Now we can see above the heater I have a 3-wire outlet there. This house was built in 1970. But the house I grew up in as a boy was built around the turn of the century. That would be the 20th century. I think it was made in 1895 or so. We only had 2-wire outlets, so we would have needed this style 2-wire plug. Non-polarized 2-wire plug would have worked in the house I grew up in. Now the problem is, when you look at ads for this heater, some of them have 2-wire plugs like this. Other ones have 3-wire plugs. And there's no way to specify when ordering that you want the 2-wire version or the 3-wire version. So a lot of people saw this 2-wire configuration. They ended up getting a heater with a 3-prong plug. And for that reason, they returned it, or they were unhappy with it. Now, the next thing. A lot of these heaters have prongs which are flush to the back of the heater. This particular one has this extender. Makes no sense. It doesn't push in. And this is a very bad situation, particularly if you have an older style outlet that does not grip the prongs very well, because you got a cantilever effect here. And so if your outlet is not really grabbing onto these plugs, the vibration from the fan is going to tend to work loose, and crash to the floor. And if you read the reviews on Amazon and other online marketplaces, a lot of people have complained about exactly that thing. Now, you could minimize that if there was a bumper here to bring this up to the same level as that protrusion. But there's no matching bumper here. So it does tend to wiggle out of the outlet, and that is very poor design. Okay, I want to revisit the sound here. So I'm going to turn it on again. Here's our sound level meter. Okay, ambient room noise is in the 27, 26 degree range, which puts it below whisper. I'll turn the heater on. Hmm. .44. All right, let's change the speed. Because are we at low speed or high speed right now? All right, I'm going to push the speed button on the remote. Okay, so low speed is around 35 dB. Between 34 and 35 dB. Let's change it again. High speed is about 40. Changes depending upon where I hold it. Remember, the mic is pointing toward me, not towards the heater. But that's what I'm hearing. Okay, we're holding 40 at low speed. Press the speed button. Nope, that was 40 at high speed. $34, $35 at low speed. Okay, now let me turn this off, having established that benchmark, and let's turn the central furnace on and see how loud that grate is. So we'll turn this off, and I'm going to go turn on my furnace. Okay, she's counting down. Takes 60 seconds to cool down and turn off. Furnace probably takes more like 2 or 3 minutes to come on. Now remember, this heater cycles on and off just like the central air furnace. So you set it to the temperature you want. It kind of reaches that temperature, shuts off, and then comes back. Sometimes it'll shut off before it reaches the temperature you want. That effect is called short cycling. Some people have complained about that, and it's true. If the room is very, very cold, it will tend to short cycle and shut off before it warms the room. But then it cools down and comes back on again. I think it's overheating itself and shutting down to protect it. All right, we're still waiting for this furnace to come on. Okay, it just came on. So the sound of the forced air furnace is roughly the same as this Miracle mini heater on low speed. I'll shut up and we'll see. 32, 33 dB. That's within 1 dB of what we got on the little mini heater on the low speed setting. So that should answer your question. How loud is it? It's no louder than the forced air furnace. We're listening to the sound of the forced air furnace now, not the sound of the heater. You can see that it's off. So roughly about the same noise. Okay, here's another good test. While we have the heater on, let's see how hot the air is coming out of that vent. So I'm pointing right at the floor vent. Okay, pointing right there. It's about 107 degrees Fahrenheit. 107 I'm getting. You can see this heater is off. It is picking up some heat because the heat is blowing right on it. Floor is at 65. Wall above the heater is at 72. actual air coming out of the heater right now, 107 degrees. Okay, I'm going to turn off the furnace. And as soon as the heat stops blowing from that floor register, we'll turn on the Miracle Mini Heater and see how hot the air coming out of that is. So we've got 107 coming out of the floor register. We're already on the down cycle, but it's still pretty hot, 108 right now. Okay, it's turned off. Here's my remote. I'll turn on the little Miracle Mini Heater. All right, it's come on. It's only been on a few seconds, and look how fast it's climbing. So, here's a big revelation. When I'm sitting on the edge of my bed here, I could not feel the heat coming out of that floor register. You can see the floor register had a, this is going to the left, this is going straight up, this is going to the right. Floor register's still pretty hot. What about this? Wow, look at that. Over 200 degrees already. The air coming out of the Miracle Mini Heater is much hotter than the air that comes out of this floor register. Much hotter. And I can feel it here, sitting on the edge of the bed. I can actually feel that. So how far away am I? I'm 4 feet away. So for what it's worth, this little Miracle Mini Heater actually throws more heat than that floor register. It's worth repeating. This little Miracle Mini Heater actually throws more heat than this floor register. Now, along those same lines, does it save energy? Well, all right, I've made a chart here. Let's actually measure some of this. Okay, I've plugged this heater into a kilowatt device, and I've set the kilowatt device on watts. Now, I'm hoping the camera can pick this up because I can just barely see it myself. When it's on standby night light function, it draws 1/10 of a watt. This thing throws quite a bit of night light. It makes a very, very nice night light. But unfortunately, I could not get the camera to focus on the kilowatt display that day, so I ended up throwing all the remaining footage away. And you'll just have to take my word for it. These are the figures I recorded that day when the original fan was still in the mini heater. Now it's 2026. We've got a replacement fan in the heater. I have it mounted about 4 feet off the ground here in the bathroom outlet. You can see that we're starting out at 122.4 volts. I failed to record the voltage back in 2021, so that could affect how much power it's going to show today. So I'm going to change it to watts. Here we go. And we confirm that in standby nightlight mode, we're drawing 1/10 of a watt. Now bear in mind that a typical nightlight, here's the nightlight, depending upon the bulb that's in it, can draw anywhere from 3 to 7 watts. This is drawing 1/10 of a watt. That alone is quite an energy savings. All right, I'm going to turn it on. You can see the wattage ramping up. This has gone quite a bit higher. I never saw the original fan go in the 600s. But it should back down. So this is the replacement fan. We're on high, and we're going to settle down somewhere around 450 watts. That's high speed. Now, it doesn't really matter where the temperature is set. This is what it draws on high speed fan. Okay, I'm going to lower the speed, switch it to low speed. So on low speed we're dropping between 420 and 425 watts. I believe that's what the original fan did on high speed. So this new fan is louder. It does seem to spin faster, and it does use a little more energy. Still a lot less than my furnace though. So what we have here is a very handy, very useful heating appliance. But currently they're sold as gadgets. That's a mistake. Starting with this unit here, we need further improvement. We need a Fahrenheit centigrade switch. We need an anti-cantilever bumper. And if I were marketing these, I would only sell the 2-prong US AC plug model only. That way I wouldn't disappoint any customers. And above all, honest advertising. This isn't a late night TV show comedy skit. Do the things I have recommended, and I truly believe there is the potential to sell millions of these. I'm happy to have some in my home, and I think if it were marketed correctly, anybody living in the northern climate where you've got a central furnace might want 2 or 3 of these in their homes. They could become as commonplace as vacuum cleaners, refrigerators, washing machines, and dryers. It's not a gadget, it's a heating appliance. Will any Chinese manufacturer pay attention and start marketing a heater this way? I doubt it. Everything that you've seen here has already been reported to at least all of the people that I've bought heaters from. No change yet. So I'm not holding my breath. Thanks for watching.